Richard Halston was the kind of man people whispered about in boardrooms and admired from a distance. A self-made millionaire, owner of a powerful real estate empire, he lived in a glass and steel mansion overlooking the ocean. From the outside, his life looked flawless. But inside those walls lived a quiet sorrow that money had never been able to heal. His only daughter, Emily, had never walked a single step in her life. Emily was born after years of failed attempts and heartbreak. When she arrived, Richard believed the universe had finally rewarded him. But within months, doctors delivered the devastating news. A rare neurological condition had left Emily's legs weak and unresponsive. They said she might never walk. Therapy could help, surgeries might assist, but there were no guarantees. Richard spared no expense. The best doctors, the most advanced treatments, private therapists flown in from across the country. Still, Emily remained bound to her wheelchair. As Emily grew older, she developed a quiet intelligence and a gentle smile that melted hearts. She loved books, music, and watching the waves from her bedroom window. But behind her eyes was a sadness she tried to hide. She watched other children run, jump, and dance, while she sat still. Richard noticed it every day, and it tore him apart. Because Richard's business consumed most of his time, he hired a live-in nanny to care for Emily. Her name was Sophia. She was in her late 20s, soft-spoken, and came highly recommended. She had experience with children with disabilities and an unusually calm presence. From the start, Emily seemed comfortable with her, which mattered more to Richard than anything else. Sophia quickly became part of the household. She read to Emily, helped with therapy exercises, and spent hours talking with her. Richard noticed that Emily laughed more. She seemed brighter, more alive. For the first time in years, hope crept back into his heart. But something else crept in too. Small, unsettling signs that Richard couldn't quite explain. Some evenings, when he came home late, he heard strange sounds from Emily's room. Not cries or laughter, but muffled voices and sudden silences. When he asked, Sophia always smiled politely and said Emily had been restless or emotional. Richard wanted to trust her. He needed to. Then there were the changes in Emily. She became more secretive, sometimes anxious when Richard entered the room unexpectedly. Other times, she seemed unusually determined, clenching her fists, staring at her legs with intense focus. Richard assumed it was part of growing up, or frustration with her condition. One afternoon, a business meeting ended early. Richard decided to surprise Emily with her favorite cupcakes. He didn't call ahead. He wanted to see her smile when he walked in. As he stepped into the house, everything was unusually quiet. No music. No chatter. He moved toward Emily's room, then stopped when he heard Sophia's voice, low and urgent. No, Emily, you have to try again. I know it hurts, but you must push. Richard's heart began to race. He edged closer, his breath shallow. I can't, Emily's voice trembled. I'm scared. You can, Sophia replied firmly. You're stronger than they told you. Don't let fear stop you. Richard pushed the door open. What he saw froze him in place. Emily was standing. Barely, shakily, but standing. Her hands gripped the edge of the bed. Her legs trembled violently. Tears streamed down her face. Sophia stood behind her, hands hovering near Emily's waist, ready to catch her if she fell. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Emily's legs buckled. Sophia caught her just in time and gently lowered her back onto the bed. Richard felt like the air had been punched from his lungs. His mind raced with disbelief, shock, and confusion. What is going on here? He demanded. Sophia turned pale. Emily began to cry, not from pain, but from fear. Sophia slowly stood up. I can explain. Richard's voice shook with anger and fear. Explain why my daughter is doing something doctors said could injure her. Explain why you hid this from me. Sophia took a deep breath. Because if I told you, you would have stopped me. Richard stared at her, stunned. Sophia continued, her voice trembling. Emily's condition is rare, but it doesn't mean her legs are useless. They're weak, yes, and the nerves respond slowly. But they respond. The doctors focused on limitations, not possibilities. I've seen this before. Richard clenched his fists. You had no right. You're right, Sophia said. I didn't. But I watched Emily every day. I saw how her muscles reacted. I saw how her toes moved when she thought no one noticed. She has potential. It just requires pain, patience, and belief. Emily looked at her father with tear-filled eyes. Daddy, I wanted to tell you, but Sophia said if you knew, you'd make her stop. Richard dropped to his knees in front of Emily. His voice broke. Are you in pain? Emily nodded. Sometimes. But it's a good pain. It feels like waking up. Richard sat there in silence for a long time. Anger battled with hope. Fear battled with disbelief. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He replayed the image of Emily standing over and over again. Against every medical opinion, his daughter had stood on her own two legs. The next day, Richard called Emily's specialists. He showed them videos Sophia had secretly recorded of Emily's progress. The doctors were shocked. Some were skeptical. Others were cautiously optimistic. Further tests revealed something no one had fully acknowledged before. Emily's condition had been misjudged. She had more neurological response than originally believed. Richard felt guilt crush him. All those years. All that waiting. All that fear. But the twists were far from over. As Emily's therapy intensified, her progress accelerated. She began taking steps with support. Then a few steps on her own. The mansion echoed with tears of joy and disbelief. But not everyone was happy. One evening, Richard received an anonymous email accusing Sophia of abuse. It claimed she had forced Emily to endure pain without consent. The threat of legal action loomed. Social services were alerted. Sophia was suspended immediately. Emily was devastated. She refused therapy. She cried constantly, begging for Sophia to come back. Richard faced the hardest decision of his life. Protect his reputation, or protect the woman who had given his daughter a chance to walk. After reviewing security footage, therapy logs, and speaking privately with Emily, Richard discovered the truth. Sophia had never forced Emily. Every step, every painful moment, had been Emily's choice. Richard fought back. He defended Sophia publicly, risking scandal and scrutiny. In court, Emily testified herself, standing at the podium with shaking legs but unbreakable courage. She told the world how Sophia believed in her when no one else did. The case was dismissed. Sophia was cleared. Months later, Emily walked across the beach for the first time, barefoot, laughing as waves touched her ankles. Richard watched from a distance, tears streaming down his face. He realized something powerful then. Wealth hadn't healed his daughter. Control hadn't saved her. Trust had. Sophia remained part of their lives, not as a nanny, but as family. And Emily kept walking. Slowly. Painfully. Beautifully. Because sometimes, the miracle everyone is waiting for begins with someone daring to do what others are too afraid to try.